or well, good afternoon. Not good morning. Good afternoon. I am going to have to run right back inside really quickly and grab my water. So just wanted to get everything set up and give everyone an opportunity to drop in. So thank you all. Give me just 1 minute and I will be right back. Okay. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. Okay, let's see. All right. Welcome, beautiful souls. Just going to lighten it up a little bit. Thank you for joining. And thank you for your patience as I get everything set up here. So I know the wind it's not up too bad, but I know I'm sure you guys can hear it. So if the wind is bothersome, please let me know. And I will put my headset in. So guys, just let me know if it seems like I'm probably going to need it or not, and I will plug it up. So welcome. Thank you all for your presence. Thank you for your awareness. And thank you for choosing to drop in here. So I want to say first and foremost that there's been so much happening energetically. Even right now, just prior to stepping into this live. 1 second. I'm going to let me moderate the chat. All right. So for those that would like to chat, you must be a subscriber. You must be a subscriber, and you must be a subscriber for a certain amount of time. So there we go. Let's just get rid of all the chaos there. So thank you for your presence. Thank you for your awareness. And there is a lot that's going on energetically. Of course, there's a lot that's always going on energetically. And the one thing that was beginning to show itself through me just before coming into this live is my body. My body's been feeling some tension. Right now I actually have some change in temperature, change in body temperature happening. It feels very similar to, it feels definitely hormonal. I can definitely feel that. And of course, that is what's coming through today, is clearing of the adrenals and clearing of the hormones. But for me, it's been feeling, as if my monthly cycle was going to start any minute. And it's been, the hormones are no longer bound. That's what's so interesting, is going through this process of mastery. My hormones are no longer bound by a specific date, by a specific time of the month. It was the way that it ended up operating was it went from not being bound to then being bound, and being bound like directly on time and feeling very easeful. And now that binding has lifted once again, and it's not only lifted, but it's also easeful. So I can see where everything just merged. So, and I speak into that because one of the things that is very, very much a part of our experience is the experience of the hormones, right? Even when we experience fear, we have a hormonal reaction. When we experience love, we have a hormonal reaction. So we experience all these things in our body energetically, chemically, on a molecular level, because we have intrinsic coding that is active and declares that we should feel this way, right? And of course, we also have beliefs connected to that. So what is present here and what's coming through is I'm feeling where the cells are definitely requesting a shift, an upgrade. And I'm also going to speak into some aspects of mastery, speaking more into the path of initiation, some of, shall we say, the requirements of that. And, we're so used to this word hierarchy. And I want to speak into what the spiritual hierarchy or hierarchical system is, because it's not what our mind is going to say that it is, because it's not based in one person being better than another. Okay, yeah, let me plug this in. I was just reaching for it. I was just feeling that. I was like, yeah, I probably need to get this. Okay, there we go. Please let me know if you can hear me and if this is better. Okay. Is that better? So in relation to the hormones, okay, thank you, Cindy. In relation to the hormones, Cindy, so as we go through these phases, okay, what I'm speaking into in relation to the initiation has to do with the way that our body operates, of course. So I'm going to speak from a space of continuing the initiation to honor what the possibilities are on a molecular level. So as right now, for those that are in my soul pod, my group space, everyone in the space is is right now on the path of probation. And the path of probation is a path where you are you're reviewing your character. This is where you begin the process of mastering your character, right? Where you begin understanding the identities of your character. because we cannot progress in our individual body masteries, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body. And energetically, what I was feeling, what I was picking up on in terms of, I felt that I had already gone through mental body mastery, emotional body mastery, which is also astral, and physical body now. I've realized that I had reached a point of initiation, which allows me to pass on to those that are going through the probationary phase, and the being able to guide those through the probationary phase. So I've realized where I'm at in my initiation, and I'm grateful for that. I also had an ability to realize the necessity for, the necessity for everything that is here for those of you on the probationary path. Now, of course, anyone can walk the probationary path, but there is a hierarchical system again. And these are hierarchical systems of those masters that have already obtained and returned to spirit and hold a very specific template in relation to what they have mastered, right? So some hold a very specific template for mastery in terms of the emotional body and the astral, some for the physical body, some for the mental body, some have a compilation of the two. And so we have the hierarchical system of the ascended masters, if you will, which are directly working through the purity of the monad, which assist, and that is their purpose, is as a pure link to monadic consciousness and to as spirit, is to provide the link into that, to provide the guidance. And so now, without going too much further into that, I did want to reflect, though, that there is a hierarchical system. And I really wanted to bring that into the forefront because we have a tendency to believe through the mind that the hierarchical system is based solely around leaders in a very specific way, right? We look at government and we think of hierarchical systems. We look at, even just teachers, and it's kind of like going to college, if you will. It's kind of like taking classes like that, because there is a system of learning that's still in place, because we're always students. We're always learning. And so therefore, our ability to receive higher spiritual wisdom is a part of our soul path. And so once we've committed to the soul path, there is a phase that we go through, which is the phase of probation. The phase of probation determines whether or not you will move on into the phase of initiation. And it requires, as each of you know, in my soul group, in my soul pod, that it requires a mastery of character. For instance, in the physical body, when you actually begin the initiation into the physical body, which is actually being addressed energetically through the probation for each of you right now that are a part of the group space with me, which is what I feel is also part of that intention of having the opportunity to work together from one that has already begun moving through the phases of initiation, is to be able to provide that and to speed up the path of probation. So the path of probation, you master the physical body through drink, right? Drink, food or gluttony, and then sexual desires. So because we are controlled by the lower three bodies, we are controlled by the lower dantian. We have these characteristics, these behaviors that are adapted and connected into these aspects. They're based through these aspects of us that identify with eating certain things, right? Finding comfort in food, gluttony, or even drink. Even if we eat well, we can still be attached to that. Even if we are married, our connection to the partner can still be based in codependency, because we entered into the relationship with food, with drink, with people from a space that was controlled by the character. And it's very interesting because, one of the things, like we were just talking about in the group, was about wearing masks. And your character is a part of your mastery. And being able to master the character gives you an opportunity to release the layers of the self that are blocking you from your casual body, your causal body, which is your soul. And your causal body is what is right now not accessible. And it's not accessible because of the character. The character, the personalities, it creates the disconnect. So even when we're looking at our hormones, even when we're looking at what we consider is physical because of the matter, how is the physical operating? How are you operating in your physical right now? Even speaking in terms of hormones, our hormones are active through codes, through intrinsic coding that was already in lane for our physical experiences to give us the access of, you know, menopause, premenopause, monthly cycles, those sorts of things. It also activates certain feelings within us where our body temperature, we can feel a bit uncomfortable. We could be too hot. We could be too cold. So we actually have these control mechanisms that are overseeing the body. Now, those control mechanisms aren't negative, but it's still how we operate. So before you can even begin controlling matter from a space of spirit and purity, which, by the way, when you step into the first initiation, the very first thing that is accessible is the commandment of your throat chakra. This is a commandment of the Christ itself. It is what I have begun to understand even deeper, gives me the availability to command matter in the way that I do, to be able to activate in the way that I do, to be able to call in and experience activated frequencies in the way that I do, in the way that others are able to experience by stepping into that as well. There is a level of purity of self that is necessary. One of the things that I've also begun to understand in relation to the soul personality is that our souls do have personalities. They have rays, okay? The ray is the personality. For me, the soul that is being accessed through me is Indigo Ray. And it is the ray, it is the personality that is being brought through. It is also what is giving me access to spiritual intelligence. But there also is the necessity of the purity of character and the accessibility of the ray of love. Spiritual intelligence and the accessibility through love and wisdom. So what does this all mean? Each ray is a ray that is available through mastery, and the mastery is available through the soul. So a lot of times we have a tendency to get some things a little convoluted and confused, because when we talk about incoming rays, a lot of people perceive that the incoming rays or the incoming plasmic waves, the incoming currents, are the rays of the soul, but they're not. That's different. We do have cosmic rays that are incoming, that are assisting with the upgrades of the matter. And then there's the soul ray, which is a ray of mastery. So all of this is to say that you have an opportunity to step into a path that provides accessibility to your master ray, that offers you accessibility to the mastery of your character, the mastery of your existence, and the inheritance of your soul. And we quite literally, and this is one thing that I also discovered, is that even when I was on my path, and like when I was going through, let's say, the path of probation, it's not that I couldn't activate matter. It wasn't that I couldn't change my situation or my reality through manifestation, but there's a slight nuance to manifesting something differently for a different experience, and actually changing the dynamic of the existence by quite literally becoming more atomic in your existence. This is where right now the body, especially as you step into the path of initiation, as you begin that transition out of probation, because you have mastered your character, you begin accessing matter from a space of the atomic realm. You get access to the microcosm. That's what having access to the atomic body is, the microcosm. And it is, again, we think that we're in control of matter. We think that we are changing matter because we manifest something differently. But that's not the same thing. Our manifestations are manifesting illusion. It just appears from a space that seems that it is the truth of reality. Now, that's kind of a mind bender, because right now you're sitting here, you're experiencing in the physical, and you're listening to this, and you're watching it on a phone, and you're in your room or you're outside or whatever the case may be. And so that's a bit of a mind bender to hear that that's illusion. It's not the real truth of existence. Because the real truth of our existence in terms of our atomic is the soul. It is spirit. Everything else is a part of the material world. So atomic matter and what we experience in terms of projected physical are slightly different. Because right now you're not seeing a vibration, or you're not seeing the molecular, shall we say. You're seeing a physical representation. You're viewing through a physical phone. And it's about the physical aspects, the composition of it, about the projection of it. And so you've also created the reality where you have access to that. So when we get down into the space of accessing our intrinsic coding, like one of the things, that's what I'm bringing through today, in terms of hormones, the ability for the throat to actually, the ability for the throat to actually be able to command the atomic is, you must be in a space of proclamation, of commandment, that holds the tone, of your light. Because when you hold a specific tone of light, you command the molecular from a space of the light. And so it's a necessity. It's an absolute necessity. Other than that, you're just manifesting for experience, but you're not actually changing anything on a molecular level. Now, does this mean that everyone wants to change things on a molecular level? No, not necessarily. But if you're interested in the path of actual mastery, if we look at Yeshua, the Christ itself, that was a progression of his own initiation, his path into mastery. And there are prerequisites before you get to that space. So when his throat began commanding, when it began speaking from a space that could actually command atomic matter on an atomic microcosmic level, it was because he had moved through a certain progression of his initiation. And that is the first part, actually. And this is available. It is the one thing for me that is my path. It is where I speak from. It is where I offer activations from, is that commandment on a molecular atomic level. And it is experienced that way too. Now, can I turn water to wine or something like that? No, but eventually the ability for me to consistently uphold the initiation will give me greater accessibility to a higher composition of atomic mastery. Now, one of the things that, welcome Danny, one of the things that, if we just look at the opportunities for the soul in this realm, there's so many opportunities for your soul extension to experience itself, because in this realm, no one is accessing their soul. No one. You're a soul extension. I'm a soul extension. You're a soul extension, because the soul doesn't come lower than fifth density, fifth dimension. Your soul is your higher self. And we all have 12 soul extensions. So our soul has 12 personalities that are extended into other realms for experience. Some are incarnate on other planets. You might be the only one that's incarnate on this planet. You might have one more that's incarnate here with you. But the majority are usually in the inner planes. They're usually there as guides. and the rest are incarnate on other planets. Now, this is also too where many people, when they're connecting into cosmic beings, like for me, I have two of my cosmic soul extensions in the Pleiades, and I have two in Arcturus. I have one on mirror, and then the rest are embodied from an inner. They've already been pulled in from an interdimensional plane. So as this progresses, all of our soul extensions begin to come in. We begin to inherit, if you're on the path of probation and initiation, you begin to inherit your soul extensions. You begin accessing your availability, not only for ascension, but also, of course, for the soul. And the soul, again, is the higher self. So if the soul cannot go below below fifth density, fifth dimension, the availability for the accessibility of your soul through you means you have begun the path of mastery. You've begun the path of probation and initiation. And that's the Christed path. That is the Christ itself. That is only available through the very first initiation of the soul. There's a certain necessity of right thinking, right feeling, right action, right living. What we hear is righteous. There is a certain level of that that's necessary. And because everyone is usually controlled by their lower emotions, their lower physical, their lower mental, they remain stuck energetically, and their soul extension will come back and incarnate and experience again and again and again through the lesson groups. Now, the progression, to be able to go into initiation, you must have progressed out of your lesson groups. And being able to, this is where the awakening comes in, when people become aware of their karma and their lesson groups. And yet, most people remain committed to their lesson groups because they're not choosing differently and they're not holding a different perception. Now, I know that pretty much all of my lives speak into something in this regard, but this is also a part of what I am, what I provide in terms of guidance and teachings. And so therefore, it's always something that is going to be reflected. And it gives an opportunity for others to also witness within themselves through the receiving of this, if that's available, if that's something that is being called upon through you on the soul level. So you must have cycled out of your lesson groups. You must have cycled out at least there's a threshold. There's a threshold of your karma that you must have reached in order for you to actually begin the initiation of the Christ itself, for you to carry the commandment of the voice, for you to begin the process of inheriting your master ray. Now, your master ray, of course, is your soul. And once you begin having access to your master ray, you're connecting into the monadic consciousness, or you're beginning the chord connection, if you will, where you begin accessing spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence, of course, comes from the ability to have stepped into the heart, to have cycled out of the lesson groups, and to begin mastering the character, where the masks, the character of the soul or the character of the self, the character of the personalities, where that's not what's leading any longer. And, many people feel more connected to the material. The material holds a greater value than a path of mastery. And also, too, there's wonderful, amazing people out there, beautiful, beautiful soul extensions that will claim initiation or will want initiation, but they will want it for selfish reasons. They will want it so that they can be seen. They will want it so that they can make money. And I mean that from a space of, Where the money isn't just a part of the contract of agreement of exchange, because yes, I do. I offer this for free. I offer this from a space that is love, that expresses wisdom, and that honors the sovereignty of that offering. Simultaneous to that, for those that want that direct connection to me, that mentorship, that consistency, there is a monetary investment energetically because of the probationary period. Now, eventually, when we get to a space where the money is no longer necessary, then I will be more than happy to let that go because it is not something that I require. There is nothing in the material realm that holds a greater value to me than the mastery of the soul. Welcome, Anne. So grateful that you're here, my dear. So, because of this, that's also another thing. When we talk about right living, right thinking, right feeling, the path of mastery, most people don't leave the probationary phase because they are too committed to the physical, the material, shall we say. Because they are not able to. And when I say, by the way, I want to say this really quickly before I go into that, because I can feel energetically where some people are going. When I say right thinking and right feeling, it doesn't mean right versus wrong. It simply means righteous in meaning higher, elevated from a space that is not attached, needing, wanting, desiring, because those energies are lower. So I'm simply just speaking, I'm speaking from a space that is holding a higher aspect of self. So the higher aspect is a pure aspect, and it upholds the righteous and it opens the pathway to the Christed. So, as this becomes available, just for those that are even receiving the message now, it's in your awareness that you have the availability of it, right? It's in your awareness that you have the option to choose it. And still, most people don't want to let go of the beliefs that are necessary to be let go of. Many are still held very captive in the beliefs of the spiritual. Many believe, they think they know what it means to connect to soul, to spirit, to source. But there is an idea there. There is an egoic belief. There is a self that is filtering everything that you think you know. That is your character. And because there is usually, unless you're working with someone that can mirror for you, you can't see the full aspects of you that exist from that space. You can't see the fullness of yourself. And so we think that we are ascending. We think that we are becoming lighter, but we have yet to master those aspects that are being controlled or are controlling us, shall we say. And there is a part of you, many parts of you, that are controlled through certain behaviors, certain beliefs, that see the world, that see yourself in a very specific way. And it's very, for me, it's so very interesting, the nuances that are contained within this. And those of you that are in my group, you know what I mean. A lot of times, many people think they've healed something. They think they've addressed this. They've done the spiritual work. They've done the shadow work. But the wonderful thing about the shadow is that you can't do shadow work alone, because your shadow will not let you see everything that's there to see. And so we think we've done these things. We think that we've healed, but yet we still have these experiences in the physical realm. We still have these issues in our body. We still have these dialogues that come through. We still have these thoughts. And energetically, we're still consuming and being consumed by the beliefs, by the distractions. And we think that we're going to ascend by what we know, because we know these things. And yet, on an atomic level, there is no accessibility to command the atomic so that the ascending dimension and density can occur. Because you can't carry the physical body that you have into the higher dimensionality, the higher density. So, what happens, right? That's the one thing that we look at is, what is the belief? What is the belief that many people hold in relation to fifth density, fifth dimension, fourth density, fourth dimension, the ascension? Just looking at that right now for those that are tuning in, what is the belief? How do you believe? How do you perceive that that's going to happen for you? Do you believe that just because we are on a pathway of ascension for the planet, that everyone just ascends, everyone just goes? But how does everyone go? How can everyone travel there, or travel? How can everyone go energetically, molecularly, the atomic, when it is dimensionality and density? So I speak this and I say this because it is an opportunity for many souls, many soul extensions, to give themselves the awareness, to allow the awareness to connect to the opportunity that you can begin the path of initiation, well, probation. And if the threshold is complete, then the initiation can begin. But it's a bestowal. Is the planet and sun ascending? Yes, that is a part of the consciousness, the contract. That is a part of the ray system. So, as a collective, there is an opportunity for everyone to go, absolutely. And yeah, shifting perspective and inner knowing, absolutely. And then we look at what's the inner knowing. The inner knowing is coming also from a space, so is the perspective. A lot of that also comes from here's the thing, when it comes to the inner knowing, a lot of times there's a nuance between inner knowing and intuition. Because the inner knowing, there's a version of self that knows what it knows. And then there's intuition. And a lot of times people will say what they're receiving of themselves is intuitive. But it's actually that inner knowing. Or I will say it's the knowing self. Let's say that. Because the inner knowing is also, on the other side of that nuance, intuition. So it's something that, and I've come to this. I've come and I've spoken into this quite a few times. And every single time I do, I sit and I feel into it as I'm speaking energetically to make sure that what I'm saying holds the highest of the spiritual intelligence. It holds the highest wisdom. It holds the highest truth. And ascension is perspective. We ascend in perspective, or we ascend in perception. I'm sorry. It's not perspective, it's perception. When we have a perspective on something, we have a stance on something. But our perception, if we perceive something, if we're mastering perception, then we're mastering our awareness. Our perspective, a lot of times with our perspective, I do feel you also were speaking about perception. But when we shift perspective, we're also shifting a stance on something, right? We have many stances on what we believe. We also connect with others. I've spoken into this as well. We connect with others because we resonate with them. What part of us resonates with another person? what part of us resonates. It's the part of us that knows what we know, because it knows they know the same thing that we know, therefore we resonate based on what we know. And if we resonate on what we know, we have to look at, okay, where are those beliefs coming from? Not just what's the dialogue of the belief, but energetically, what is the intention of the belief? What is the belief offering? Where is it coming from energetically? Is it coming from the lower? Because of course it is. It's coming from the lower. Even in terms of spiritual beliefs, a lot of people have yet to have the realization and recognition and acceptance that it is being projected from a belief system that wants to belong to something, for instance. So energetically, even if you resonate with the belief of someone, let's say, and you come to a connection, right? Soul family, connecting into a space of activation, resonating with what they know, resonating with what you know, but the belief of the activation, the belief of the gathering, the belief of the space. Why? What is the intention? Why? And if we look at why, we look at why we entered it energetically, why we came into the connection, why the belief is there, why we are choosing to hold that. And also, too, allowing ourselves to understand that the resonance simply comes from belief systems. It's not, it is energetic because the beliefs are energetic. But that energy of intention, where is it coming from? And because on an energy body level, because the mastery, let's say the mastery has not begun really, there is, even if it has, even through the probation, there's still a lot of leakage energetically. This is something that we were speaking about in my group space, right? We were just reviewing the leaking happening through the root. A lot of people are still leaking through the root. They have still, and again, that's also, again, a part of the initiation, is you have a unification of the lower self. The lower three chakras, the lower dantian is unified, and you can access that because you are no longer bound by character or personality, which comes and projects its belief from that space. And therefore, it is still operating from that space. But again, we don't see everything on our own. And if we think we know, we should take what we think we know and we should throw it out the window. Because what we think we know about anything is not holding, it's simply just not holding the full picture. And this is where we look at how we are, where we are, and how we enter into things from a collective standpoint. So, I don't know for sure if, does every soul extension have an opportunity for mastery? Yes. But there must be the mastery of ignorance and lesson groups. And this is where people normally get caught up, is the lesson groups, the lessons. Many people are still learning their lessons because they don't want to let go of their beliefs. And because they don't want to let go of their beliefs, because they try to protect their beliefs and hold on to their beliefs, they are still held in the lower. So my invitation out there is just for everyone to be aware of that, and to also be aware that it does require you having another from a space that can be the mirror, that can assist in uncovering all of those aspects that are hidden in the shadow. Because again, we don't normally, we really don't see fully. We can't see fully, especially because the vision is very clouded and muddled and convoluted through the ego. But we can't see everything for what it is. That's the intention when we are in that space. We see very linearly. And at the same time, even though we see linearly, what we are seeing is actually multi-layered, multi-dimensional, right? We know this. But just because we know this, does this mean that we see all the different layers and all the different dimensions in the now, not through time. Time is an illusion, but do we see it all now? And no, of course, not until you've actually begun the process, the agreement on a soul level to begin the process of reviewing the characters and accessing the mirror and being able to actually see through your perception, your awareness in the now moment, how you exist through all the characters of you, through all the identities of you, and how each one feels in the multitude, the polarities of feeling, and how it thinks in the multitudes and the polarities of thinking. So therefore, it experiences itself through all bodies. It can see itself through all bodies, but that requires the progression, right? So my invitation, if anyone feels drawn to begin or experience this process, to please reach out, because this is what I am here to provide and assist with, but also too, just to check yourself on it. Because in every moment, you can acknowledge what you are aware of by simply accepting your awareness. You don't have to look for things. Everything presents itself to you. And accepting and honoring that you are also distracted. You're distracted. Everyone is distracted by the material world. And they're distracted by thoughts. They're distracted by feelings. They're distracted by their character, their identity of being. And it's also an invitation to accept that this is not your highest, but it is what you chose. It is what you chose. As a soul extension, you chose to come into an incarnation of lower density, lower dimensionality. And of course, everyone's mission is different. The mission could simply be just to have the experiences of the lesson. Maybe maybe for you, the path isn't, mastery. Maybe it's just to have the lessons. And for many, this will be true. For the majority, this will be true, I feel. But there is a path that can be honored and accepted, but it is walked, and it is an individual path, absolutely, but it requires the ability to connect from a space that can also receive the mirror of self. Because you, on the beginning phases of this journey, will not see fully everything. Simply, we don't, not by ourselves. Even I realize this in my group. There are things that I see now just by reflecting for them that I do not feel that I probably would have been aware of or would have acknowledged if I was not in that space of reflection. It requires the agreement with others. It requires the availability to be able to also exchange with others that is not coming from a space of relationships, of seeking, where it's simply a space of coming together. And of course, I know that this happens in other communities where, you come together for spiritual, maybe activations of whatever it is, whatever the activation is. Maybe it's an Arcturian activation, maybe it's a Palladian activation, or Saint Germain, or whatever it is. At the same time, again, you all have heard me speak into this. We look at what is the intention of going into such a space. That's where you check your character. That's where also you check your personality and your beliefs. So before we go into this activation, I do want to address the hormonal aspect, because we are going to step into that. The ability to shift out of the hormonal cycles in relation to premenstrual cycles, in relation to menopause. Okay, so menopause, just like monthly cycles, is based on the illusionary time, right? So I do feel the availability for the menopause to shift. Yeah, there is an aspect that must have shifted. There's an aspect, okay, it goes back into, it just goes back into mastering the characters of the self. It goes back into mastering those aspects of you that are separate, but also too, giving yourself anything for the hormones is not necessary if you accept and allow, and especially because Cindy, you know, you're a part of the group, so you're on a path. You're on a path of the master, and you're also on a path, well, you're on a path of the probation right now, but you're right, you're working towards that. Give yourself an opportunity to let go of anything that you feel you need to support yourself, and give yourself the power of being able to support yourself, your body, as you move through this. Do I feel that the cycle of this will shift? Absolutely. If you are consistently committing to releasing yourself from the cycles of energy that hold you captive there anyways. So when we accept that we're the ones creating, and our bodies are going to go into these cycles, even the death cycles, like we have death cycles as a part of our cells. So our cells will be activated through the death cycle. Now for me, and also too, like for those that continue the contract and the probation. Now again, I don't know everyone's let me fill into this. Do I feel that we can deactivate the death cycle? Yes, I do feel that's also what we're doing, is deactivating the death cycle. But there is a level of mastery that comes with that, absolutely. So the ability to for now, honoring your hormones from a space of empowered self, honoring the process, but also honoring that you can actively command within your body to the degree at which you accept your own commandment. To command the body, to command the hormones, so that you are not holding the belief that you are bound by that cycle. I began releasing the belief that I had to be bound by my monthly cycle about a year ago. And I let, like, because we have a lot, if we just look at, there are those that pour a lot into just that. Where the devotion is actually to a cycle of self. It's where they're absorbed and devoting to the blood, to the bleeding, right? The worship. So there's a lot of worship for the monthly cycle. There's a lot of worship. And this is actually a disconnect from the devotion of the soul. So it's not that I don't honor what my body is moving through. It's not that I don't honor the femininity of it, if you will, but the femininity is also bound by the character of what we believe femininity is, the feminine, what we believe it is, and how we are bound by that, by the character, by the lower, by the bleeding, by all of that. And so it's actually a binding. It's not a freedom. So you can free yourself from it. That's amazing, Becca. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I do feel there will probably be a lot opening up from that space. So let us go ahead and shift into the other type of activated experience. going into the activation on a molecular, the quantum, commanding the atomic. And again, it goes, we also have to look at a lot of people, and I've had this, I'm speaking this from my own experience, where before, I thought before from the spaces that I was operating, that I was actually experiencing energy opening, where I thought I was experiencing microcosm, where I thought I was experiencing the activations of the macro and the micro. But those were beliefs. They were beliefs I was projecting. It was not a commandment on a microcosmic molecular atomic. And again, too, I've also come to the realization that even with the commandment through such activations as this, the only way that the commandment can retain itself, the only way that the activation retains itself, is if the person is more, if the person is more, is operating more from a space of self that is not bound by the character. It's an ability. So we also have to look at, looking at the collective, looking at what do you believe? What do you believe? Like if you step into such activations as this and you hold a belief of what you think you should experience, if you hold a belief of what you think should be happening, then you will be disconnecting yourself from the experience the entire time, because your awareness will be trying to go out here to find something instead of being in here to just simply be open and allowing the energy to move through. And so there are different levels and layers to the experience. But if you kind of have a difficult time connecting, it's because you're holding an expectation or a belief in you somewhere of how you think this should be. And it's also too, if we look at images like visuals, a lot of times people move away from themselves because they go into the visuals and they go on a journey and they go somewhere else, right? So this doesn't mean that you're journeying in your mind, you're journeying through a characterization of your beliefs, but you're not going anywhere. You're not going to a planet. You're not going anywhere else. You're going into your belief. You're going into the characterization. And therefore, you're simply just traveling through your mind. So if you do have a lot of images that come up, if you're one that has a lot of visuals, then I would invite you to take a deep breath and to pull that in. Everything's opening. So let's move into this. Just to pull yourself in, pulling yourself in from the breath, pulling yourself in with the breath, and allowing yourself to connect into the physical, but not bound by just the manifestation of your physical body. Allowing yourself to experience everything from a space of sensing, the sensing of the atomic. Opening, 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 activating, opening. Activating, opening, Earth Star, activating, opening, Soul Star. Opening. Opening and expanding. And just allowing. Opening, opening, and expanding. And as you are in this experience, the activator, it requires your awareness, not just being a bystander. not just being a passenger on the ride, to be an active and conscious co-creator with the experience. Because the only way that we have the experience is through the awareness. If you're not aware of the sensations, then this is what tends to happen is when people go to reflect their experience, they don't know what the experience was because they were not actually in the awareness, they were somewhere else. So opening and expanding, activating the Earth Star, opening, expanding, allowing in the flow of the magnetic currents, opening, activating, opening, and there's an increase of the magnetic currents, and just allowing yourself to feel the opening, the magnetism. It might actually feel a little cold. Opening, opening and activating through the nervous system, opening and activating through the blood. The blood, all systems of the body are receiving. All systems of the body are receiving through the Earth Star. And through the open and active Soul Star, opening up through the Sun Star, opening, opening. And we open the Soul Star to be able to receive through the Sun Star. So opening and activating this for the collective, opening, activating, opening. Opening and receiving the currents through the Sun Star, opening and allowing in the currents, allowing in the waves, allowing in the currents, bypassing any blocks to the causal body, bypassing, allowing, coming straight in through the central pillar, bypassing, activating, coming into the central pillar, and activating through all bodies. Bypassing any blocks, coming in and activating and expanding. And just simply allowing, activating, opening, activating, allowing. So opening, activating, and there it comes, activating, opening, activating, opening. So opening through the Earth Star, activating, opening, incoming magnetic currents, incoming electrical currents, incoming plasmic light, activating, opening through the Earth Star, opening the root, opening the sacral, opening the solar plexus, opening and activating, opening through the heart, opening and expanding. Opening and expanding. And as we income through the root, income through the sacral, income through the solar plexus, we expand, unifying, expanding and unifying through the central, opening and expanding and activating, opening crown, opening third eye, opening throat, opening, expanding, unifying through the central pillar. And just simply allowing the opening. So acclimating, allowing everything to open, activating, opening, expanding, activating, opening, expanding, activating, opening, expanding. And opening, opening and bringing the awareness into, deepen into the microcosm, coming into the microcosm, activating into the microcosm, activating into the microcosm. And again, if any images come up in relation to what you think the cells are, in relation to what you think the microcosm looks like. Remember, dissipate the image and bring the self into the feeling, allowing yourself to feel, not to follow what you think something is or what you think it looks like. That will also distract you and disconnect you from the sensation and the feeling. Opening and allowing. So opening and clearing the fields, opening and clearing, opening, activating, clearing the mental body, clearing the emotional body, clearing the physical body, clearing all subtle bodies, opening, activating, clearing all subtle bodies. Clearing the root, clearing the sacral, clearing the solar plexus. Clearing, and closing the root, closing all leaks from the root. Definitely was feeling some leak. There we go. Closing all leaks from the root, closing all leaks from the root, closing any leaks from the sacral, closing any leaks from the solar plexus, closing any leaks from the heart. There we go. Now there should be an intensification of the experience. Now again, the higher chakras have yet to be fully accessed. So we think we hold things there, but we have yet to actually move higher into actually holding experiences there. So those chakras are operating in terms of an energetic balance system, shall we say. As we open and expand, now let us go into the microcosm. Going into the microcosm, going into the blood, activating the opening of the nucleus. And opening and activating, calling forth and activating the sequence, calling forth higher sequencing of the genes. And the sequencing, the higher sequencing of the gene is actually going to be clearing as much as is possible in terms of deformities of the genes. Requesting the sequence for this collective offering. 7722. Activating 7722. It's a sequence, vibration, octave. So opening through the Earth Star, calling in and activating, opening the Earth Star, opening, activating a higher magnetism, activating, opening, activating orbit, activating orbit, and opening up into the blood, opening up into the cells, opening and activating through the blood, opening and activating through the cells, opening and activating, and calling up all currents, calling up the polarities, 7722 through the Earth Star, coming up into the blood, coming up into the cells, coming into the gene code, coming in, opening, activating, calling it in, activating currents, coming in, activating, really feeling, yeah, this is really coming in. And opening the nucleus. Opening, activating, and incoming through the soul star, activating currents, coming in through the soul star, activating currents, activating electrical currents, bringing the plasmic electrical in, activating, coming in through the nervous system, coming in through the blood, activating, bringing it in, activating, bringing it in, activating it in, bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in through the crown, through the third eye, through the throat, bringing it in through all systems of the body, and bringing it up from the earth star, activating and expanding up, bringing the currents up, activating and expanding through the microcosm, activating 7722, activating polarity. Now that's intense. Activating polarity. Activating polarity of 7722. Activating polarity. Activating polarity in the organs. Activating polarity in the blood. Activating polarity in the nervous system. This one is really, this is really coming up through the base of the skull, from the back of the neck and the base of the skull, and all around. 7722, 7722. This is activating and opening, neutralizing, activating and opening through the nervous system. Yeah, activating and opening through the nervous system. 7722 is a higher active. Yeah, being released. So there is a so calling this up, this is a sequence, neutralizing the inflammation of the nervous system, neutralizing inflammation in the body, and the emissions of this. So coming into the cells, activating, activating, imprinting. This is imprinting into the molecular, imprinting. 7722, 7722. Vibrational oscillation, 7722. Activating the intrinsic coding and shifting out of negative polarity. And let us clearing from the blood, clearing from the blood, clearing from the blood, and clearing from the field. There we go. Clearing from the blood, clearing from the field, any crystallized energy, any calcified energy. Clearing through the earth star. Clearing all calcified energy through the earth star. Clearing this from the cells, clearing this from the bones, clearing this from the blood, clearing all calcification. This is emotional. Many people have held on to their emotions or identified emotionally, and it is calcified in your blood, it's calcified in the bones. Clearing, opening, clearing, releasing the calcification through the earth star. So pulling it out, 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 pulling it out of the blood, pulling it out of the bones, pulling it out, and clearing, clearing, pulling it out, 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 pulling out excess crystallization and any crystallization in the blood, clearing the blood of all heavy ions. Clearing, clearing. This is a big one. Clearing, clearing. Please, inviting everyone, please declare, I accept, I receive. Clearing, clearing, and pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down and out. Clearing, clearing, clearing through the earth star. Clearing, clearing excess sugar, clearing excess salt from the blood. Clearing this and neutralizing the molecules. Clearing the excess crystallization. Pulling it down and out through the earth star. Pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down and out, pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down and out. Clearing and opening the earth star. Opening and opening the sun star, letting in more light, letting in more light, letting in more light. Opening the sun star, letting in more light, opening the soul star, letting in more light, letting in more light. Opening, letting in more light, letting in more light, letting in more light, letting in more light. And pouring the light into the cells, pouring the light into the body, pouring the light in, pouring the light in, pouring the light in, clearing the emotional, clearing the mental. Clearing, clearing. There's a lot that's been held in the hips. There's a lot that's been held. Clearing, 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 opening, and calling in more light. Expanding up through the heart, calling in more light. Expanding up, calling in more light. Expanding up, calling in more light. Clearing and allowing more light. Clearing, there we go. Clearing, 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 clearing. And now opening, allowing, opening, 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 allowing to process the energies incoming, activating the thyroid, opening and activating the thyroid. Definitely need to open, and clear the thyroid. Clearing the thyroid. The cells are going to be transmuting a lot energetically. Transmuting, so opening the thyroid, opening and activating the thyroid, opening and activating the adrenals, opening and activating, opening and clearing any cellular debris, clearing, clearing, clearing any energetic debris, clearing any and all energetic debris from the thyroid. Clearing, clearing. This could be a little bit intense. Clearing, 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 opening and activating the thyroid. Opening and activating the thyroid. Opening and activating the thyroid. Calling in magnetic currents, activating, 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 activating. Calling in the magnetic currents, activating, clearing, opening. And all fat tissue and all tissues of the body are transmuting. All tissues, the skin, all aspects of the body are receiving, transmitting, and transmuting. all fatty tissue, and clearing hormones, clearing all energetic debris from the hormones. There's another big one, clearing all energetic debris from the hormones, clearing, 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 clearing. Okay, coming into the blood. That one's moving up through the throat, clearing, 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 activating and clearing, allowing, clearing. Yep, there it was. There was a lot held, clearing those adrenals, clearing the hormones, clearing. Just got about 10 pounds lighter in just density alone. Clearing, clearing the hormones, clearing and releasing any and all energetic debris, clearing and releasing, clearing and releasing, clearing, clearing, clearing. Okay, calling up from the Earth star, allowing in the currents, calling in from the Sun star, calling in from the Soul star, allowing in the currents. Now opening and activating, coming into the blood, going into the microcosm, activating the currents, activating the currents, activating the currents, calling it into the blood, coming into the blood, activating magnetic currents into and through the blood, calling it in, activating, 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 activating magnetic currents coming up from the Earth star, activating magnetic currents to the blood. This one's really pulling me into the back. Everything's coming up through the back, coming up through the shoulders, coming up from the back of the skull, coming up. So opening, the rod, activating through the rod, activating, opening, activating through the rod, activating, opening, central channel opening, activating the blood, and activating the polarity of 7722. So incoming waves, incoming currents, incoming waves, incoming currents, moving up and through, moving up and through, moving up and through, and opening the cosmic star, letting in more light, letting in the rays, calling the rays in, allowing the rays in, allowing the currents in, calling in the rays, calling in the currents, calling in the light, calling in the rays, calling in the currents, calling in the light, and anchoring into the blood, anchoring into the cells, anchoring into the DNA, anchoring it in, activating, activating, activating. There it comes in, activating, bringing it in, activating. There we go. Activating, activating, expanding, opening and expanding, releasing density, transmuting, transmuting, and releasing more density, releasing more density and activating, and just coming into the molecular and activating the currents through the blood, activating the currents through the DNA, activating the currents through, activating through the electrical, activating, activating, activating through the nervous system, activating and clearing, clearing, clearing. So clearing the intrinsic coding, connecting to the cycles of the body, clearing, opening and allowing the cycles of the body from a state of freedom, opening, clearing any genetic or intrinsic coding that is binding, clearing, clearing, clearing. And calling in more light, calling in more light, calling in more rays. Anchoring into the blood, anchoring into the blood, anchoring into the blood. And let us open the Earth Star, expanding, opening, expanding, allowing in the currents. Open and active to the Earth Star, open and active, and pulling it up, 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 pulling it up. Pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up. And really feeling the currents, the magnetism. You can feel the electricity flowing through the nervous system, all the way to the fingers, all the way to the toes, activating the electrical currents, activating the magnetic currents, activating, elevating, activating, elevating, enhancing. Now it's really enhancing. You might feel a bit cold, activating. It's going to feel probably pretty cold, really cold, activating and enhancing. Clearing, 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 clearing. Opening, clearing. Now, what's open and available here to feel is not only the currents flowing through every inch of your body. You should be able to feel every nerve ending in your body and every nerve through the main systems of the body and the subsystems of the body. Also feeling the magnetic currents as they're flowing through, the electrical currents as they're flowing through. And enhancing, opening and enhancing. Clearing, opening and clearing the pancreas. Let's pulling out any excess crystallization of the pancreas. Clearing, flushing the pancreas, flushing the pancreas, flushing, clearing the body, clearing the body, clearing the blood, clearing the body, clearing the blood, clearing the body. Clearing. There it goes through the feet. You had any excess sugar in your system, clearing it. And enhancing the experience through the body, enhancing the experience. Now balancing all meridians. Balancing all meridians. Now reversing polarity and activating the polarity reverse. Activating, 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 activating. 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 And elevating. There it comes. Elevating. You might feel yourself being pulled up. You might feel your body might move involuntarily. Please allow. As the polarities are reversing. That way we're not bound by just one polarity. Reversing. And opening and clearing all organs. There's a lot happening in this left quadrant here. What is here? What is active? What is here? What is clearing? What is active? What is here? What is clearing? Okay. Part of the polarity. Clearing. 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 Now, as this is open and active, we're going to call in the waves of the rays, calling in the waves of the rays, the frequencies, calling it in, opening and activating the cosmic star, opening and activating and expanding the cosmic star, opening and activating the universal star, opening and activating opening and activating. Now this could be a bit intense, opening and activating the magnetism, the pull, the orbit, activating, 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 and allowing, coming it in, bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing in the rays, clearing the field, clearing the aura, clearing the field, clearing the aura, and expanding out into the auric field. Calling in crystalline compounds from the etheric, anchoring in the auric. Calling in crystalline compounds, anchoring into the physical. Calling in crystalline compounds, anchoring into the mental and into the emotional. Expanding. Now calling in the rays, clearing. Calling in the rays, clearing. Clearing. Calling in more light, clearing. Opening and activating, clearing the crown. Opening and activating, clearing the third eye. Opening and activating, clearing the throat. Opening and activating, clearing. Opening, activating, clearing. Opening, opening, clearing, clearing. And expanding, opening the heart, clearing. Opening the heart, clearing and expanding. You could see a multi-hue of colors here, a lot of colors. Opening and expanding, opening and expanding, clearing, 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 opening and expanding, clearing, opening and expanding, activating, clearing the sacral, clearing the solar plexus, activating, clearing the solar plexus, opening, clearing the sacral, opening, clearing the sacral, activating, opening, clearing the root, clearing, clearing. Now it could get hot, clearing, and clearing and activating the rays through the Earth star and pulling it back up into the universal star. Pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling the rays back up through the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, and soul star, sun star, cosmic star, universal star, and activating the orbit, clear and active. All is clear and active. So just allowing the orbit, allowing the clearing, allowing the active. Now, the 7722, just please allow. We know that everything in our body, all intrinsic coding happens at a vibration, a vibratory level. We have different frequencies and different tones that the organs and the cells vibrate to. The 7722 is simply that. Working intrinsically through the cells, working intrinsically, increasing and neutralizing any excess polarity. So simply allowing this. And for those of you that are more sensitive to the sensations, if you're feeling the waves, you will be experiencing this for a little while. There it comes. There was a big one that's pulling down. There it is. It's pulling down through the Earth star, really feeling that pulling, really feeling that magnetic pull. It's ionic, atomic, ionic, just like when you go and you do an ion bath and clearing. It's clearing on a molecular, atomic. It's also what happens through grounding. Everything is being pulled down. So this is also happening. Everything on a molecular, atomic is being pulled down. Clearing. Clearing. Aligning the spine and opening, feeling there's a necessity there for alignment. Aligning and opening the spine, opening and aligning. There it is, opening and aligning, opening the hips, aligning the hips, opening the spine, aligning the spine, opening the shoulders, aligning the shoulders. There we go. There it is, aligning, aligning, aligning. There it is, aligning. There's a greater opening, a greater alignment there. So these waves will be continuous. The more that you are active internally, meaning the more that you are just present internally and able to receive this, where if you go and you just start doing things, the feeling is going to be much different because it is meant to be experienced from the space of awareness. The awareness is what is harnessing everything. So the waves of this, also too, please declare, I accept, I receive. So the waves of this will be continual and continuous for the next few hours, harnessed through the awareness. So just allowing that. And this is going to be, I'm feeling, yeah, feeling, even right there, big one right there, clearing through the skin. The skin is open and active and clearing. There's a lot happening through the platelets of the blood. There's a lot happening through the nervous system, and everything is open and active and clearing. It's clearing any excess ionic buildup, any excess calcification, any calcification at all, actually, crystallization. And it could feel a bit intense, okay? If it consistently feels intense, just simply take a few deep breaths and allow. Yeah, really feeling it. So opening, let us open up the pulmonary, let's open up the pulmonary, opening up the pulmonary and activating the pulmonary, activating, opening the pulmonary. There we go. Opening and activating, opening, opening, opening and activating. And so the lungs, the blood, the heart, everything is open and active. Everything is receiving, everything is emitting on a molecular level. The plasmic currents, the magnetic currents, the electrical currents, and everything is clearing. So you might feel a multitude of sensations over the next few hours. And please allow. Yeah, right. Even just as I'm saying that, there's like a yeah, pulling that out, pulling it out, pulling it out, opening, opening, opening. It's like a pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out. Like a lump, pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out, opening, pulling it out, pulling it out, opening, 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 releasing, releasing, transmuting, 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 transmuting. There's like a ball of energy that is being released, coming up from the sacral, root, sacral, solar plexus. It's come up, and it feels like when you've taken, like when you've swallowed like a vitamin or something and it's stuck in your throat, energetically pulling this out, pulling it 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 out, opening, opening, opening. Okay, that's better. Opening, 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 opening. So there's a lot clearing, you guys, on a cellular level. There's a lot reconstructing on a cellular level. Please allow this. Activating the contract. So activating the energetic agreement. Activating the energetic agreement. Creating a shield around the fields. Creating a shield around. Creating a shield from the auric, etheric in. Creating a shield. So creating a shield. Enveloping. Enveloping all bodies. Closing all gaps, closing all leaks. So enveloping, enveloping, closing all gaps, closing all leaks. So allowing it to be received, all is received, all is active. So thank you all for receiving. I'm going to also go and be with this and allow it to continue. If you are interested in receiving an even more powerful activation, I am offering one on 11/11. Again, I will have that in the description on how you can reach me through email, through Instagram, through Instagram messages. If you're interested in joining that activation, it will be on Zoom and it will be available for replay if you cannot make it live, and that is $66. I do these once a month, and they're collective contract upgrades, upgrading through the grids, upgrading and integrating from a higher space. So that is available for anyone that is interested. It's approximately 90 minutes. And yeah, so you can reach out to me for that. And if you are interested in working mentorship, anything like that, please reach out as well through the same. And the mentorship is through the group, but I will require speaking with you and connecting with you to see the availability of the mentorship. And allowing, again, just for me to see the availability of that. So I will talk to you a little bit. Yes, absolutely, my dear. Absolutely, Anne. You can watch the replay as often as you would like. However, I will say, because of the intention of what is being applied here, please allow this to process through your body and through your cells for at least 48 hours before you rewatch this. Okay. Thank you for asking that. Even though for some, especially if it didn't feel like, I know it's powerful, sometimes our ability to feel the sensations is a little bit different, but the intention and what is actually taking place is there. Okay. So please honor this. Give your body, give your cells, give your atomic, give your molecular an opportunity to please incorporate. Okay. Thank you for receiving, Danny. I'm so grateful that you both were able to join in the live today. And thank you for receiving. Thank you for co-creating and just exchanging. So, so in the sleep, yes. So, okay, again, in sleeping, good question. When you go into sleep, setting the intention as you go into your astral to, now actually, I even feel like you don't need to set that intention. That you will be operating through the astral in assistance with everything that was active. This will also happen for each of us as we sleep tonight. So simply allowing that you will be working, and it's already actually begun. It's actually happening through the astral. You will just energetically, through your awareness, join yourself there. So it's already in motion. So thank you for asking that question, Anne. So, and if anyone does have interest in the connection to the group space, which is a very powerful mentorship through me, it is the pathway of initiation and mastery, as well as, of course, the probation. I will speak with you. It is donation based, but I do humbly request a minimum donation of $122 for the month, because there is a lot of energy expended. You're more than welcome to donate more if you would like. Many people ask me what the donation range is, and it's anything from 122 to 277. So I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Thank you all for receiving. I will have everything in the description. I am feeling a lot, by the way, just right now, so much. There's a lot of cold energy coming in, a lot of crystalline, shall we say, energy coming in through the root earth star. It's almost like when you touch your fingers, just something frozen, like cold ice, like, what is that cold? Yeah. What is that ice called? That they use on, what is it called? I can't think of, anyways, that's what that might have that sensation. So it's very frosty. Okay. Now this is moving through the root right now. The root and everything through the lower is holding the reconstruction. So the more that you can hold on to this awareness by simply being present, the greater that dry ice. Thank you, Becca. There we go. Thank you. It will simply just intensify the experience. Now, if it becomes too intense, now this can happen. Well, I say too intense. Nothing's ever too intense. But if you feel like you need a little bit of a break from the intensity, simply allow yourself to focus on something else. As long as your awareness is holding yourself and energetically present, it will intensify and enhance the experience of it, because the awareness is the activator. So if you feel like you need a little bit of a break, just focus on something else. But please give yourself the rest of the day to be present, to honor, and be. Okay? Thank you all so much. I thank you. I thank you for your presence. I thank you for choosing to be here with me and receiving. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. And for those that are joining me on 11/11, I'm so excited to see you there and see your faces. Okay? I will have everything in the description. Until next time. Adonai.